I'm George Santos, and I'm here with We Are Not Journalists.
Coming up on We Are Not Journalists.
You're going to call 911 and you're going to still be dead.
Right.
And then...
Oh, I do see how that's a problem when you say it.
Like the way she says it, though,
Yeah.
it's kind of like she's taking it out of context.
Yeah, thank God. Y'all are crazy people. Y'all are absolutely nutty people.
Welcome to We Are Not Journalists. I'm Maximilian Clark.
And I'm Walter Masterson.
And today we have a very special episode all about law and order, the police, and crime.
Yeah, but just for a second, I'm going to take a second to defend the NYPD here, okay? I mean, our city, New York City, is in chaos. And there's cars on fire, garbage cans on fire, migrant crime. We need the NYPD.
Well, actually, Walter, just to hop in there, because I would also like to defend the NYPD, but I believe that crime has never been lower in New York City. This is the safest it's ever been. Murders down, assaults down, rapes down, and that's thanks to the NYPD.
Okay.
I feel like we're far apart.
I feel like we could...
Well, we can compromise.
Yeah, we can meet in the middle. Okay. All right.
Let's try it
So, the city is in chaos, and that's thanks to the NYPD.
What do you think?
Y'all are so funny.
Is crime up and we need the NYPD, or is crime down thanks to the NYPD?
I think it's funny that the police are always, they've made it so that they're always the answer no matter what, right? Like,
yeah, well, the NYPD said both of those things to us.
Yes, yeah. So I think crime, New York City is safe. Like, New York City is one of the safest big cities in the country. That is true. That's never been my dispute. The issue is that NYPD is always sensationalizing it as crime being out of control in order to justify giving them more money and hiring more of them, who they're saying that crime became out of control out of. And then when people become scared and then they start to realize, oh, wait, y'all supposed to fix that. Then they're like, no, crime is down. It's down across the board, and you need more of us still. So it's not that New York City is dangerous or out of control or anything like that. It's that our messaging and our narrative always has been, and it's contradictory with what a lot of what is happening on the ground.
Huh.
I agree with what you said. When crime is up, we need more cops.
Right.
When crime is down, we definitely need more police.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, because what else prevents crime from... Wait a second.
Wait, yeah.
1, 2... Someone's in our studio.
Okay. When someone's in the studio.
Yeah, is this a break-in?
Oh, I was going to call...
Should we call the...
Oh, we're not,
Everything's...
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're not going to call the cops. We don't call the cops around here.
No.
Second Amendment. And that assures the Fifth Amendment. What? Oh, so this is Olayemi. She is a movement lawyer.
Right.
I mean, that's like earthquakes
So
and stuff.
So there's an earthquake that just happened. Are you on the earthquake side?
First of all, I didn't even feel that earthquake. Second.
Wow, denying that even happened. And you're laughing. You know, earthquakes kill people.
She's a earthquake denier. I think we could vibe off of this.
I wonder if there are any earthquake deniers. That actually, I didn't look into that. I feel like there probably are people saying that didn't happen.
Right here. I believe that every earthquake was caused by the advanced machinery of a subterranean people who have hotter women and better technology. And the government is lying to you.
It's also could just be Jesus, because,
End times.
gays and stuff like that. Drag story hour.
Yeah, no, that's possible. So, how many earthquakes have you defended?
Just this one.
Okay, that's great.
Hoping to do more though.
And are you the only movement lawyer out there?
No. I wish I was the one that penned it, but no, there are a bunch, I'm sure.
What does that mean?
A movement lawyer is an attorney that uses their legal skills in order to support movements, like local movements across the country. So I help messengers, local movements, organizers, activists, public defense offices across the country figure out how to get their messaging, amplify their messaging, and get them into more like social media and mainstream media spaces.
Huh. Now, what about the people that have been silenced?
Ooh, y'all?
Yeah.
And the conservative, straight white males
Yeah.
being silenced every day. College campuses, And right on this very
Podcast,
YouTube channel,
yeah.
podcast.
I think it's always funny that people be telling you they've been silenced and canceled from the New York Times. So I think those people, the mainstream media already has that voice. The status quo, the majority, those people that feel like they're silenced, the fact that they're able to tell you that is evidence of the fact that they haven't been silenced. But you don't hear a lot from the people that I've represented as a public defender. You don't hear a lot from those activists, those organizers. They don't have access. So that's what I do.
Well, I mean, isn't that just the free market, though, doing its job, making sure that unpopular voices such as, I don't know, what are they, like, save the planet kind of people?
I think that's fine if they think that. I honestly actually don't care that much. Like, I actually don't care how the right feels about the work that I do or what's necessary, right? They don't take into consideration my opinion when they decide what messaging they want to do. So I just don't care.
What do you do if you are just, I don't know, trying to keep innocent people out of prison or something stupid like that?
What do I do about it and they're trying to stop me from doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the things that, as a public defender, a lot of what I realized was that advocacy extends beyond the courtroom. I think people think when you become a public defender that you're doing it because you think what you give up in money you make up for and feeling like noble and like I'm doing God's work. But what it actually is you realize truly what it means to be between a rock and a hard place. Like, you can only feel so good if you get your client out of jail and they're homeless now, you know, or like what your client is dealing with. Like, it should not be criminalized the way it is, but it is. If they want to actually throw the book at your client or deal with it, you're having to deal with that. So I realized that in order for me to make a better world, like when my clients don't feel like they have to be between a rock and a hard place, or I don't feel like I'm only giving my clients shitty options, I have to change social consciousness beyond that. So for me, it's like those things are always oppositional forces in everything that I do, in the work that I do, if you do it more formal, if you do it informal. So as far as like messaging beyond the courtroom is much more free. There's always going to be criticism. They're always going to be fighting you. That's what it is. Everything I do is in resistance.
You know, we're big First Amendment guys. Obviously, like we are First Amendment fanboys. We love it. We love the fact that no one can tell us that we're wrong, or because that's illegal. But some states have laws that allow people to hit protesters with their car.
Yeah.
Could we bring that here? What would that look like?
It would be unconstitutional. That's what it would be, right? Like, DeSantis actually tried to pass one of those laws in Florida, and the Supreme Court found that it was overbroad, because it is. So it would be unconstitutional, but NYPD does do it here.
Oh?
Yeah, they do it here.
Our police?
Your police, yes.
Our police love protesters.
I mean, when the NYPD does it, they have a good reason for it.
Yeah.
Usually they're strategic response group and they're doing it with bicycles.
No, they're doing it with cars. Like, if you didn't see the footage in the NYPD back in 2020, they've consistently done this. They spend like over $100 million settling lawsuits for this, like, every year. But in 2020, the coverage was really high, and NYPD was straight up just driving into crowds.
Oh, but those are Black Lives Matter crowds. And the NYPD was saying, we disagree.
Yeah. If you see the NYPD, drive straight into a crowd, that's, they're stopping a riot.
Right. I mean, like, when the Patriot Front came here and when the Proud Boys come here, like...
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's totally like, and then we need the NYPD. That's why we need cops, is to make sure that the Proud Boys get into the subway
For free.
And safely on the train.
Yeah, but I mean, like, during the George Floyd protests, I mean, like, yeah, there were lots of lawsuits. There was one that was settled last year for $10 million. They stacked up to sometimes almost $250,000.
Yeah, in the last 6 years, I think, and we've settled, I think it's been more than $500 million settling NYPD misconduct settlements.
But fortunately, people at home might be worried, that doesn't come out of the police budget.
Yeah, just ours.
Yeah, it comes out of, like, libraries and schools.
Yeah, taxpayers' pockets.
Right, exactly. Why is that?
Qualified immunity.
Oh.
Qualified immunity. The police are protected. I mean, we know this, right? Like, there's pretty much no system of accountability really for the police, because it doesn't personally come out of their pocket. They're covered by qualified immunity. We, the taxpayers, are the ones, when they do get sued, even if they're found accountable or held to have committed whatever misconduct they're accused of, we pay for it. NYPD, most times of whatever incidents, NYPD investigates themselves. They say it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Well, but sometimes in New York we have the Civilian Complaint Review Board, which will make recommendations to the NYPD, and then they get to say it's fine.
Yes, exactly. And then they say, fuck that.
Yeah, right. So you are saying that this system isn't perfect? Because it sounds pretty perfect.
It sounds wonderful.
It is perfect in terms of what they want it to be, right? Because I think sometimes people make the mistake of assuming that people like me are trying to like explain to the powers that be what's wrong with the system. They know, everybody's aware. It's like nothing that I'm saying is an enigma or a secret to the legislators, the judges, the prosecutors, and the police themselves. It's for the public to hear that. So once the public realizes how it's actually working, the public can express outrage and put pressure on those officials. But it is a perfect system for them because that's what they intended to do. Yeah.
Now, we were just at the City Council where they're reauthorizing the Strategic Response Group, which is the frontline of defense against protesters and people.
Well, I mean, it's originally created as a counterterrorism unit of the NYPD.
But then there wasn't enough terrorism.
Well, by terrorism, I mean, it's sort of broadly defined. I mean,
well, they specifically defined it
protesters,
as
Black
anti-Trump, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
That's how they defined it in their training materials.
Yeah.
And they will kettle protesters. They will hit them with bicycles, shove people to the ground, make mass arrests. I think that there's a lot of people that like don't want to see what happened in 2020 when New York was burned to the ground and we had to rebuild it from scratch.
When that never happened.
Excuse you. I watched it on Fox News.
I watched it on TikTok. I watched it on Fox News.
Yeah, and I mean we're New Yorkers ourselves, and so
Facebook. Yeah,
I didn't see it with my eyes.
Yeah.
But I saw people who.
But it's so funny. It's so interesting the way that New York City is portrayed versus what it is, right? It's like because New York City has a diverse population, people pretend as though it has this progressive utopia of politics because of what the people who live in New York City visually reflect.
Okay, so are you saying that Eric Adams is not a far-left communist?
No, I'm saying he's NYPD's mayor.
Okay.
Yes, right? So while they're acting like New York City burned to the ground or New York City is lawless, I think it's interesting that whenever these law and order like attacks come about, it's never put on the places that are low on police, or like even a New Jersey next door that got rid of cash bail in 2014 under Governor Christie. They don't talk about that. They eliminated it 10 years ago under a Republican governor. But we get modest cash bail reform and it gets talked about like it's the most radical thing. New York City has...
You can murder someone and then they just let you go without no bail,
they
right?
can't even arrest you.
Yeah, absolute hogwash. Just absolute foolishness. First of all, New York City has pretty modest bail reform. We got it in 2020 landmark bail reform. And what it did is it made most misdemeanors and some low-level, like non-violent felonies, non-bail eligible, right? But every single charge in New York City, if you are let out and you're rearrested, a condition of bail for all of them is that if you commit another crime and you're rearrested, the judge can and likely will set bail on you, right? But guns in New York City, you have a gun in New York City and you're looking at 3 to 5 automatically. They're setting bail on you. You're going to Rikers. You commit any kind of gun violence, any kind of murders, anything like that, which, by the way, the majority of everything in New York City, in the U.S. criminal system in general, but specifically New York City, are misdemeanors and non-violent crime. It's not like what you're seeing on Law and Order or what New York Post is showing you. The average person is getting arrested because they were banging on their door and they got locked out and their neighbors called NYPD. That's the kind of foolishness that's happening.
To clarify, because this is something that we're told explicitly time and time again, the reason that New York City is the murder capital of the world is because of bail reform, releasing violent offenders.
New York City is
so like what percentage of that is true?
None of that is true. None of that is true. New York City is one of the safest cities in the country. It's period. It's in fact, New York City is safer than most of these rural, red Republican-led areas per capita. So New York City is safe. But what I think is interesting is what we need to decide who it is we want to blame for what we think it is, because
wokeism.
Black Lives Matter, wokeism, woke judges.
New York City. How could New York City be the source of law and orderlessness, right? If New York City has the largest police department in the country.
Well, according to the NYPD, that's why we need more cops, because of the lawlessness.
Right.
And because of Black Lives Matter, the DEI, the police aren't allowed to arrest black people.
So wouldn't we have a problem if we have the largest police department in the country and we are spending all this? We give NYPD gets more than $11 billion that they're getting.
Yeah.
So if we're
most
doing
of that's overtime.
Sure. And they've hired thousands more NYPD officers since Mayor Adams, who is NYPD, became mayor. whose fault, if crime is in fact out of control, right? Why are these police that we're paying for not getting it together? And what proof is there if we're saying that crime continues to be out of control and we've been increasing NYPD's numbers and budgets every year?
Okay,
whose fault?
are you implying that police don't prevent crime?
Yes.
Then what does? Like if, like say I've been murdered, right? And I call 911. Who shows up? The cops.
First of all, when you say you've been murdered, you are
Yeah.
me, because that
No,
does
no,
have,
no, no, no,
that has a
no.
lot to do in the response time.
No, if I've been murdered, right? And I like who am I gonna call? Like a social worker?
You're gonna call 911 and you're gonna still be dead,
Right.
and then
Oh, I do see how that's a problem when you say it.
Like the way she says it, though,
Yeah.
it's kind of like she's taking it out of context.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay.
Let's do a little more context. Right?
So a crime has happened. No, that doesn't work. Okay. Well, so how are police supposed to stop a crime that hasn't happened? Do we need to invest in precogs, like in Minority Report, who could predict future crimes?
what we need to do is give resources to the communities that we're policing. If you find an area has a problem, right, the safest communities are not the most over-policed, they're the most resourced communities, right? So in the same way that in the communities that we do say are safe, that we are giving money, what is it that we're giving that they have that our communities don't, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, they don't have the money for education, we don't have the money for housing, we don't have the money for mental health, healthcare, and all of these different things. And those...
That's socialism.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Mental health care, so, I mean, it's,
yeah.
But
So you're saying that rich communities have less crime?
Yes.
But they don't have more cops?
Exactly.
They have less crime.
Less crimes, no, it's less.
No, it's fewer. Fewer crimes.
So,
Well,
I mean, you're saying...
it's less crime, but fewer crimes.
Okay, so
how does that work grammatically?
But she's trying to, I think,
Yeah.
I see what she's trying to do.
We'll get back to
No, what she's trying to do is she's trying to say, hey, we don't need these police in these rich communities, and then the cops leave the rich communities.
And then come to poor communities, and then they start making arrests.
They redistribute their wealth. And
Yeah, okay, so let's say this. Child crime is on the rise. But we have cut funding for libraries, parks, and after-school programs.
Yes, which have all, by the way, have all been shown in numerous studies to reduce crime, especially in particular, Mayor Adams has taken money from the specific program that they have where children would get summer jobs. And since that program had been implemented, I think it was 30% lower any level of incident or getting anything, because these children have money in their pocket, they have a job, they have something to do, and we've taken from that.
So people who have money and have their basic needs accounted for and something to do with their time don't commit crime.
Precisely.
It's like she's talking like ancient Greek to me. I feel like
yeah.
I feel like I get it, but I don't get it.
Barrier.
Yeah. Okay. So so let's say we take that money because every department in New York was cut except for the police.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Right. So if we had put that money into these programs that reduce crime, we wouldn't have that money for cops. So who would arrest those children?
That's it. Oh, there we go.
There, saved it.
There we go. Saved it.
Is that not?
Why do we want children arrested?
Well, I mean, certain children.
But okay, let me ask you, do you like to be broke?
No, I mean, that's why we get up at 4:30 a.m. every day.
Do the grind, yeah.
Do you like... What if I told you that since Mayor Adams took office, that our misconduct settlements have doubled? That if we paid 61 million... Let's say we paid 61 million, I think, in 2020. Since Eric Adams became mayor, we paid 150.
But that's just the woke judges, and we need to sort of rearrange the courts.
Yeah, it
get
feels
our
like
own people in there.
It feels like isn't that some amount of accountability?
No.
For police?
Where? What would make it accountable?
Well, I mean, someone is saying that they did a bad job.
They're not getting fired.
Uh-huh.
They're not paying for it.
Right.
They're not getting criminal charges.
Uh-huh.
Nothing is happening to them.
But
you're paying for it.
I'm paying for it.
So where are the police being held accountable?
Listen, that's not all. Let's just fact check this a little bit. So if a cop, gets suspended or thrown off the police force in New York, they can go and become a police officer and make more money in Florida.
Oh, right here. We still they're still fighting for police accountability for the police that killed Eric Garner. Popular case. That's still a working cop.
Oh, okay.
Or the cop who killed Dan Roy Henry. He got promoted. He received the Officer of the Year award.
Wait, the same year?
Like, I think maybe that year or the next.
Okay, so here's one. I feel like there's two narratives. One, where police need broad protections in order to do their job.
Yeah.
And the other one that you seem to be giving us is these broad protections allow an ecosystem for bad cops to conduct misconduct without any sort of accountability.
I think the question we actually have to ask is, what do we think the police's job is?
I know what police are for. Say, for instance, it's Christmas, right? And you've been tracking down a cocaine empire, right? And then they kidnap your partner's daughter, right? And then they chain you to a pipe, and there's a little drop of water falling on your head. What are you supposed to do if not have the police kill 25 to 35 people to get that daughter back?
Which they probably won't even do. They probably won't even get there. Like, I don't even think in this scenario the police aren't even gonna be that effective to you. Like,
Okay.
if you think they're gonna run in there like John Wick style and take the place out for you, that's not gonna happen.
30 or so hostages on the top floor of a
Now,
sandwich,
if you're
yeah.
having like a mental health crisis at
Yes.
home and you call the police, now then they'll come in and shoot everybody up. That's when you probably get that done.
So, there have been people who have said that we need to supplement the police with social workers who would know how to respond. But, you know, we talked a lot of QAnon. We're out there. We're men of the people. They say that idea is stupid and woke.
Have you ever heard a story in the news about a social worker shooting anybody to death?
Yeah, I mean, see, exactly. They're not keeping the city safe. I mean, they're not, so it's like, what are they gonna do?
What if you heard a social worker killed one of their patients or some of their clients that they were caring for? What would you say? What would you want to happen to that social worker?
I'd want the entire program defunded.
Yeah.
So what if I told you more than 1,200 people were killed by police last year? At least that we know of.
We need more context than that.
But the subway. Subway crime is out of control.
Subway crime.
The governor's brought in the National Guard. We're trying to put a police officer on every car.
I mean, you know, and Mayor Eric Adams, I mean, he
Yeah.
said he's spoken to black people, and black people said, you know, they feel really safe when they see more police in the subways.
Yeah.
Yeah, things that never happened. First of all, I think we all know this with our common sense that black people do not feel safe by being over policed and criminalized by the police, specifically in regards to stop and frisk and what NYPD is doing here. Like, this is asked and answered. Like, the Supreme Court found this unconstitutional. Black people complained in mass. It's kind of a well-documented thing how black people in New York feel about NYPD's over policing.
All right. Well, let's forget feelings for a second. Well, I got this. Easy one. Way up. This is sort of a fill in the blank. After New York stopped and frisk after Mayor Bloomberg, right? Mm-hmm. Crime in New York went blank.
It went down. Crime has gone down.
Okay, yes, that's technically true, but that's not the answer we wanted. We wanted you to say that crime went up.
No, crime has gone down.
Okay,
But you know what has gone up? Crime has gone down in general. But what has gone up is the amount of lawsuits, misconduct, people, cases that have been dismissed, acquitted, found nothing.
Those are just like protesters and stuff like that, you know.
No, this is across the board.
Okay, well, we have increased the number of police on the subway, right?
Yes.
Has that reduced crime on the subway?
It depends on who's talking about it and on what day, because they said the crime was down in the subways, and Eric Adams becomes mayor, says the subways are so dangerous, adds 1,000 cops. Says okay. Then he comes in, now they add 1,000 more cops in the National Guard because they say people feel afraid.
Well, listen, that wasn't Eric Adams, that was Governor
Kathy Hochul.
Eric Adams just was there at the ceremony and the press conference when she announced it, and he just stood by her in solidarity. It's not, he didn't order it.
Okay, I'll be the first to admit, there are a couple of bad apples.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't we encourage a system that protects the bad apples and keeps them employed?
We do. I mean, that's the thing is we do. Why we shouldn't have it is because it's at the expense of everybody. It's unfortunate that people have to hear about how something affects them, right? Like they hear about it and they're like, okay, black and brown or poor people, that's who that happens. But it's not just us, right? White people are victims of police brutality. White people also find their rights violated. And it also puts everybody, if you live in a police state and the police have so much unchecked power, sure, you might not care when they do it to the average poor black and brown New Yorker, but what does it say if the NYPD has enough power to kick the governor out of a funeral? Who can stop them?
You know, like, listen, this is, we're both libertarians. Historically care about a problem when it affects us personally.
Yeah.
So you bring up a good point. My question is, who are you going to call when your house is being broken into?
I think that, unfortunately, I think this is a beautiful point because it shows the way the police have been intertwined with things that we have to engage in whether or not we want to, because the reality is you're forced for most like insurance policies, insurance reasons, whatever, that people have to call the police. They have to file police reports in order to just go to the next step in the process, whether the police have any intention of doing anything to recover that for them. So I mean, if that happened, I would probably be forced to, just like I and lots of other people that are not proponents of the police have had to call the police before, and that's how we know that they don't solve crime, that they don't do these things. Like, I'll give you an example. A year ago, my TV got stolen. Mm-hmm. My TV got stolen from Huawei. Amazon, no big deal. Amazon will replace the TV. Mm-hmm. But Amazon tells me I have to file a police report, right? Granted, I already told my landlord that the TV thing had happened. So he sent me the videos, and I could see the guys having took the TV. Again, don't care. The TV will get recovered, small things. Mm-hmm. NYPD has to come in order to file the police report for me to give it to Amazon. They don't. I have a video. They don't want to see it. They don't want it. They don't need it. They don't care. They just write like, okay, your TV was stolen, and they lie. They're like, well, you live in Brooklyn. And that was it. Mind you, I have video. Uh-huh. If there was a world where police did what you think they did on TV, like, oh, give us that. Let's see those guys. Let's look for it. They don't do that.
They didn't like sweep for prints, collect DNA evidence or anything.
I mean, next you're going to tell me they don't care about victims of sexual assault. I mean, they have nice teeth.
I'll give you the other day.
Right? Like, there's a whole division. There's a special division in law enforcement that deals with assaults that are particularly heinous. Yeah. And you tell me that doesn't exist?
No, they don't care about you. Okay. They don't care about nothing. The other day, I'm walking in my neighborhood. I got like a block down, and there are two little girls running. They have their backpacks, like, one is 7, one is 4. They're running, and they run to this, another woman, like, this white lady in the neighborhood. And we both run over to them because we realize, okay, they must be lost. Like, they left from somewhere. So we're trying to find them, return them back to their home at a daycare we believe they came from for like hours walking. The 7-year-old did not want it. She wanted to go to her friend's house. It was very clearly her plan and plot. She ran them out of there when no one was looking. And so now she was actively working against the mission to get them home. So that took us a while, right? So we spent hours. Finally, the 4-year-old leads us to the house in the neighborhood. The police cars are all there. The police are in there. It's a family stream. They clearly just been in there, sitting there looking at these people for hours. Meanwhile, I'm walking around the neighborhood trying to find their home. They don't ask me. I explain to them. I'm going out of my way to try to tell them, hey, the story where I saw little girls, found them, returned them. They didn't write name, question, write nothing, speak to nobody, no, anything like that. So I returned these two little girls, but how do you know they've been missing for hours? You don't know me, you don't get my information, you don't try to determine what or anything like that. So what if something happened to those little girls and they needed to like check, like that story wasn't true? Nothing.
Okay, well, and this is a genuine story. This is a real story that happened to me. Last time I called the cops, I was living on the Upper West Side, mm-hmm. and there's like, it's one of those places where there's an alley that runs between the buildings, and like, you know, all the windows face into the alley. Yeah. And I heard someone distinctly scream, "Help! Oh God, someone help me!" And I stuck my head out. I was like, okay, it's on this side. So I called the cops, and they came over, and they listened. This is 25, 30 minutes later, and they didn't hear the person screaming anymore. And they made sure to ask me if I was taking medication for hallucinations. They asked me questions about it for about 15, 20 minutes. And then they left. So don't tell me that the police won't investigate This is actually like legitimately for real story. That's my last police
So
inspection.
fucking hilarious.
It's just like, I think it's this building. They're like, no, that's fine. So, what kind of psychiatric I'm like, sometimes I take 10 milligrams of Adderall, but I don't think that.
They said,
And then they toss the house.
They're like, can we come in? I'm like, no.
That's actually hilarious.
Geez, I don't know, Walter, about these police, because I don't know. Like, if they don't prevent crime,
So they're not preventing crime.
and they're not investigating crime.
They're not investigating. Well, we know why they're not, because, the woke left.
Right, well, yeah, because they don't want to get in trouble. And there's no accountability if they're sued. You say, so what's the fix? Like right now you say that there's no accountability, that policing is out of control. So what, we don't have cops anymore and we let everyone get murdered?
First of all, I want to say this. In general, what the media focus on is not a reflection of what are people's lived experiences in America or crime. The majority of people are obviously not being murdered or experiencing violent crime. In fact, most of the people that you hear from that talk so much about crime and where they want the police, they're not talking about their experiences, and they're not talking about their neighborhoods. It's not their neighborhoods they're talking about. You're hearing from the white middle class, the white rich suburbia, and who they're speaking to, and they're saying that they feel afraid of crime that they claim happens exclusively in our neighborhoods to and by us. So how could it ever have been?
Well, hang on, you say most people are not being murdered right now. The majority of people are not being murdered. What about Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago, it's on fire. There's 100 shootings a day.
Yeah, and the majority of people are murdered there every week.
The majority of people are murdered there every week is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's
if I were to draw the population of Chicago, it's here, right? Tomorrow, the day after, and then eventually it just it bottoms out a little bit because the numbers get smaller and smaller. Yeah.
Specific cities are highlighted the way that they are and focused on in the media, and it's just dog whistles. It's because, not to say that there isn't a crime issue in Chicago, because there is. It's a crime issue, and there's crime, or rather public safety, is an issue everywhere. It's supposed to be a concern to people who live anywhere and to the government officials that are supposed to keep them safe, right? So Chicago has some of the same infrastructure problems of being dog whistled to the media because they have this black populace, while money is stripped from their communities to put into policing and over incarcerating them. So again, what I think is interesting is that whenever people talk about crime or cities with crime problems or anything like that, they talk as though that's a gotcha to people like me. They're like, I'm not a politician. Not one single one of my proposed initiatives or what I think that we should do with resources or in politics is what we have in place. That's not what's happening. In Chicago, in New York, these are some of the most policed places in the country.
So are you telling me that the police haven't been defunded?
No, they have not been defunded. In
fact...
fact...
Okay, no, but since 2020, the police budget... I mean, let's look at the numbers here. Let's look at
yeah, sure. I mean, because we have heard...
Yeah, no, I mean, the
only
police,
that the police have been
once
defunded.
The George Floyd riots started, the police were just defunded into oblivion. It's like they went from, having 30,000 police officers to I'd be lucky if there's
36.
36,000 now.
So the baseline NYPD budget was...
So in 2019, that's when, before all this thing started.
Yeah.
Look at their budget, right? And then we'll just
$5.6 billion baseline.
Wait. So listen. I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah,
all right.
Sure.
That's how I refer to human beings. So let's just look at the numbers here.
So 2019, $5.6 billion baseline, right? Plus overtime,
Yes.
plus other things. 2022, $5.6 billion. Seems like that's not really accounting for inflation, is it?
You know what's so funny? Okay, so no, their funds have increased actually. So it's not just their budgets and spending. You're not seeing the entire. So they actually get more than $10 billion. They got more than, I think, $10.4 billion in overtures and spending and their budget in 2020, and now it's up to over 11. Plus, that's not counting the more than $100 million in overtime. And last year, Eric Adams actually signed a historic New Deal by their own admission. That's what they've called it, because it's only the third like it in the last 30 years, the third voluntary voluntary contract with the Police Benevolent Association, where Eric Adams, despite while he was telling us because of the migrant crisis they had to cut budgets everywhere, they increased like $100 million of new raises and overtime and everything for NYPD. So they're actually in the best shape they've ever been because their boy Eric Adams looks out.
I feel like, okay, so we have two possibilities here. One, you're wrong. Or two, literally everyone in conservative media has been lying about policing almost exclusively. Like everything out of like Sean Hannity's mouth, lie. Charlie Kirk's mouth, lie. Ben Shapiro's mouth, lie.
Yeah.
You're saying that every one of those people on Fox News, Laura Ingraham is a big liar who doesn't know shit about anything,
Yes.
and really like is content in just parroting these
Jesse Waters, he's an idiot.
Look at Jesse Waters. He doesn't know what 4 times 2 is. He must be an idiot.
Yeah,
I'd say
my
they are.
uncle, he's a big stupid fucking moron.
Like Donald Trump is stupid.
Yeah, my uncle.
How about that?
Donald Trump. Yeah, he's an idiot too.
Oh my goodness.
I'd say-
And it's all racist. Everything's just racist.
Yes, and that they know it is, right? Like, remember when Fox News got sued over Tucker Carlson and their defense was no reasonable person would take this seriously and believe we're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And the court said, yeah, that makes sense. So they know not only is it a lie, but that's their active mission. It's propaganda.
So here's the thing, you're claiming all these cops are racist, but there's a large amount of cops that are black and Latino.
This is the reason why it's important to talk about systemic issues, right? Being black or being brown or being a marginalized person yourself does not exempt you from consuming the same propaganda in your society or needing to do a job or having to perform within the confines of the system in which you work in. So them being black or brown has nothing to do with the price of tea in China, and that's like a well understood thing. Like whether it be like James Baldwin has talked about this versus NWA saying, black police showing up at a white cop, like there's always been this recognition and understanding in marginalized communities that often some of the people that are going to work hardest against us are our own representatives.
But I've looked into the CRT things. By that, these kind of systemic issues would also long-term be bad for white people.
Yes, exactly.
Hey kiddos, last week we featured a video with a Maine representative in the state house defending the Nazis. It went a little something like this.
An elected official from Maine.
Let's talk about the Nazis. I would like to know, although I'm not posing a question through the chair.
I love this.
Not a question. Like to know
Don't answer it. Don't answer
what
it.
they did that was illegal.
And we had fun with it. We, obviously had some reactions to it. But so in our YouTube comments, made a compelling case. Taylor7353 said, at minute 33, the person is not talking about the real Nazis, she's talking about neo-Nazis who had a march rally in town and were arrested for rallying. This is the kind of story I thought you guys would love to dive into. A genuinely good debater who disagrees with yours and my viewpoints. Taken out of context, her words sound insane. This content's not hard to find, even for non-journalists. And we're not dunking on Taylor. Obviously, they don't like Nazis. But
Taylor is correct. The context was not there.
Yep, absolutely. She was defending neo-Nazis. Neo-Nazis had been in the Maine news because they wanted to start a training camp, a paramilitary training camp to teach neo-Nazis how to engage in a war against minorities. And so perhaps that would be an answer to what they did wrong. But I don't know how out of context it was.
I mean, we got the context wrong. The other context is still awful.
Yeah, the new context is also bad. Neo-Nazis are not good people. And you might say, well, what about their First Amendment rights? Shouldn't we treat them the way I would want to be treated? Which gets us into something that's attributed to Karl Popper, which is the paradox of tolerance. Which is, if you allow neo-Nazis to have free reign to do whatever they want, eventually someone else's freedoms will be curtailed. Because neo-Nazis are kind of like the oldie Nazis.
Well, I mean, the whole point is that you want and to put it plainly, tolerance applies to people not breaking the social contract of intolerance. Right. Once you've broken that, then none of us have to be tolerant of you.
Exactly, right? We can't encourage people to do hate speech, violent rhetoric, to incite people to violence, and that's stuff that the neo-Nazis are kind of famous for. But if you want a sense of what it looks like to take someone out of context, take a look at this video that we shot earlier. America is a real trash pit, like it needs to be purged with fire. But, two of us, we can go in, we can crush those imperialist dogs, Allah Akbar. Yikes.
Wow, Max, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I think that this video is actually one of those things that if you play the full context, you might understand it a little differently.
Oh, God.
No,
again
please.
With this.
No. Just hear me out. So there's a new Star Wars game that I've been playing that I want to get you on. They do the Battle of Endor, with the second Death Star from Return of the Jedi. When Admiral Akbar comes in and he's like, "Oh, it's a trap!" But they play it out, and I think it's a lot of fun. But the server right now, it's a mess. Like EU is fine, but America is a real trash pit. Like it needs to be purged with fire. But two of us, we can go in, we can crush those imperialist dogs. Allah Akbar. Just the way that he did it in the trilogy.
Imperialist scum.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be great. We'll play tonight after we film this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, we'll show them from the river to the sea.
What's that?
Oh, we're gonna play it on my dad's boat.
Oh,
as
cool.
We're exiting the harbor and going out to the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. So that is how you take someone out of context. Right? This is still someone who is saying something that is bad, and you know what? We razzed him for it.
Yeah.
Even if she was on camera and addressing something for the public record, she could have said it once in the mirror. Oh no, poor her. She got taken out of context for saying, "What did the Nazis do that was so bad?"
No, but what did the Nazis do that was so bad? Also, not a question.
Yeah.
Don't answer.
No, but besides that, like you go on and you say that sentence. Yeah, you should be dragged for it. So anyways, Taylor, hope that helps. Now back to us being conservatives.
Taylor, yeah. But thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor. And thank you for watching.
Appreciate it.
We have to talk about, I guess, the propaganda and the amount of propaganda that's around the police, right? And how much money is put into giving these perceptions of them. Because, even when people, if you ask people what the police do, the first thing they'll probably tell you is to protect and serve. But nowhere, not only is there nowhere where that's actually any obligation of the police, but that's something the Supreme Court has ruled on. The police have no obligation or duty to protect you.
Right.
So
and
how could
that came up in Uvalde. It was, it's been reaffirmed time and time again.
Right. So how could that ever be the purpose of the police, right? So this idea that these people are being placed into...
I mean, Uvalde was... I think there's been a lot of, people have mischaracterized what happened in Uvalde. I mean, they made it seem like the cops were just hiding while they had an active shooter and they were outgunned and stuff. Police did go into the school to rescue their own kids. It's not like they didn't stay back. I mean, they did go into the school to...
While the others stood outside macing and cuffing the parents.
Right, exactly.
Cuffing the parents that were trying to get it, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you... They don't have to protect, right? And, they shouldn't risk themselves, right? They have the 22nd most dangerous job in the country. Only 10 slots below delivery driver. We back Uber Eats in this household, by the way.
We know who serves.
Yeah, we do. So let's talk about the serving aspect of it. How do police serve us? How do police serve? How do police serve us? They serve us by
service.
They drive around. They give me parking tickets. I would pay for that. They serve us. They serve us. Well, we have to respect them. So I guess in some ways, don't I work for the police? Because if I don't do what they say, they can kill me. And
is that what the kind of society we want to live in? Do you want to be spending your money, the money that you make, you want to be giving it to your government in order for them to put it in the pockets of people who can control you and can possibly harm you, arrest you, kill you, violate your rights, and nothing happens?
Like I said, we're libertarians. We're fine with that happening to everyone but us. You know what I mean? It's like this.
When do you think they'll come for you?
I mean, if the Democrats get elected.
You're saying that we shouldn't have to live in a police state where government agents dictate what we can or can't do according to their own whims.
Exactly.
I mean, okay. But what about the law? Don't we need people who understand the law and are able to enforce it accurately?
The police, first of all, that wouldn't be the police, right? That's not
What? The police?
The police often don't even know the law. Like, what the police is, how propaganda has portrayed the police to us is we often think the police are the ones determining what you get charged with. Police have some role in whether or not you get a plea deal or anything like that. The police make arrests for any number of foolishness, what they think is the law, and that goes to the prosecution to decide. And I do think this is important because a lot of what happens in America is they'll discard part in order to preserve the whole. And what I mean by that is they'll criticize policing. They're okay to allow that, and then it never goes beyond that. People don't recognize the prosecutors. The police are not acting alone. They're acting with the support of the prosecutors and the judges, right? So what happens is police conduct arrests, often many of which end up being thrown out, acquitted, dismissed, not right, different charges, and then the prosecutors are who decide what the charges are going to be. So it's the police don't know shit about the law.
Well, I mean, but won't police often give people a plea deal telling them that they will...
Police give nobody plea deals.
I'm talking prosecutors.
Oh,
Will
yeah.
a prosecutor then take, like, a 17 or 18-year-old or someone who doesn't speak English very well and give them a plea deal saying, like, hey, instead of serving 10 years, you're going to serve 2.
Prosecutors do things like that, but here's the big dangerous thing. Don't talk to the police. While I'm here, let me make sure I tell everybody this. Don't talk to the police. And what happens oftentimes is the police, because in the media, people are always they're seeing the police say, oh, if you talk to me, if you cooperate or whatever, I'll give you this plea deal, I'll make sure this thing happens. People believe, oh, okay, I need to cooperate with the police. I need to engage in this interrogation or this questioning because that'll be better for me. The police are who decide what happens. Mm-hmm. They don't. They have nothing to do after. Police conduct the arrest. Police become witnesses in your criminal case. They're going to be who the prosecutor calls to the stand. They're not making any determination on what plea deal or what offers you get. So don't talk to the police.
All right, what about recording the police?
Recording the police is necessary. It does something because it exposes the citizens and everybody else to what's actually happening. But as far as stopping the police or changing what their accountability is, has it worked? We have body worn cameras, just one of the main reforms progressives push for, and all that's done is ensure that we watch police commit murders that they still get away with.
All right. Well, okay. But now, for the civil suits, after they murder someone, sometimes they have to pay, well, taxpayers, not that.
Yeah.
Someone else has to pay money.
Yeah. And don't you find it interesting that, like, police can kill regularly? Police kill and brutalize, not just kill. I think it's important when police brutality gets framed in the news as though it's just when police kill people. But all these aggressive police throwing people to the ground, concussing people, beating people, all these different things are police brutalizing people. And all of those things, including all that you don't see, happen every day. And so every day people are filing lawsuits and all these misconduct allegations against police officers. And isn't it interesting that you could see it in the same system that will say there's no wrongdoing? The police will say there's no wrongdoing there. That's why we're not charging these officers. That's why we're not firing these officers. But there's a wrongdoing that can always be found for us to pay for it.
And I feel like you're talking about all these videos and body cam footage of police throwing protesters to the ground and throwing migrants to the ground. And I feel like a lot of those videos are taken out of context. Like you see like a 30-second video of them throwing some migrant and their child to the ground, but you don't see like the video of them playing basketball with some kids from the inner city.
And you do see that, and the gag is you do see that because so much money is put into the police being able to like ingratiate themselves with the public. So think, for example, remember the other day when it went viral, the NYPD had the dance squad on the news? You saw that? They had the dance team. Did you miss that? That was crazy. And the funny thing is...
We'll put a video of it in the corner.
They had a dance team, and the funny thing was people were making jokes, of course. They're like, look how much money are they getting for this dancing is terrible and blah, 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 look at these buffoons. But I'm like, that's a part of the propaganda. The fact that if you see these people dancing and doing little routines and they seem unserious and they seem like bumbling buffoons, will you believe that these are the same people that are brutalizing and are so dangerous to black and brown New Yorkers every day? So all of that is a part of the propaganda. We do see that. They do show us police officers with kids and this and the next thing, have them handing out ice cream and doing nonsense.
I saw the ice cream.
Exactly.
So someone used that as part of a...
I wouldn't think that, because when I see some black kids doing dance routines on the subway, it doesn't make them any less dangerous. I still want to call the cops on them and stuff like that. So I think we're going to agree to disagree there.
Well, going back to the core, you say you don't talk to police. What if police tell you to talk to them? Isn't that a lawful order and must be followed?
I think here's the thing with the law and your rights, right? Like, you have a lot of rights and you can know what those rights are, but if the police are violating those rights in the moment, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, there's something I always try to tell people is like, your argument for why you didn't do it or what your rights is something that your lawyer, you have to go fight and assert at trial, unless you're the cops themselves or rich white people, right? Then you get to say you didn't do it, and then they say they can't bring charges because you said you didn't do it. But for everybody else, it's something that you have to do in courts. I think the best thing that you can do is try to verbally assert, especially for black people. This is a delicate. I can never act like there's one right thing to do because it's delicate. It depends on who the police are, how they're engaging with you, how you as a black person are able to show up. There's so many things that you have to navigate. But try to politely deal with the police. Ask them whether or not you're under arrest, whether you have to ask questions or anything like that. And if you can, assert your rights. If they continue to do with what it is that they're going to do, don't talk to them, don't engage, and that'll just be something that your lawyers have to fight. But don't talk to the police.
Okay.
Don't talk to the police.
Okay. So I'm getting a psychic vision. Right now, I get these sometimes. It's from the future. We've posted the video. Okay. I see it. And in the comment section, someone with like an eagle, or it's a flag, or it's someone wearing sunglasses and a pickup truck.
A flag.
It's something like that.
Oakley glasses. Okay, you're doing great. You're doing great.
They've commented, this is just woke propaganda. This is the reason that cities have such a high crime rate, and can you imagine what these people would do if they ever were the victim of a crime themselves?
Oh, that's such a good vision. Wow.
I think it's funny that this myth that people who do not support over-policing have not been victims of crime. And I think that's funny, right, considering the people who say it often are... If the same people who say that will have those profile pictures and make those comments will be the people talking about, oh, but black on black crime and black people are criminals and blah, blah, blah. So it's like...
Yeah, that's a good one. What about black on black?
So if black on black crime is a myth, all right? Everybody, all groups, all racial groups commit crime within community, within the people they are most closely in proximity with. So white people commit most crime against white people. Black people commit most crime against black people.
It's called something different. When we commit crimes, it's called wage theft.
Yeah.
It's also called crime. Y'all also do the same crimes as everybody else, all the same things. You're just not policed in the same way. And I know this. I went to high school, boarding school in West Virginia. I went to college in Ohio. I lived in Florida before that. I've been surrounded by white people. I know what y'all do in y'all's private time. Okay, crime. Y'all just don't call it that.
Wow. Like, oh, so suddenly when I buy or sell cocaine, it's a crime?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I haven't done. I haven't.
I'm not selling my Adderall prescription.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not for sale. It's my Adderall.
No, finals are right around the corner.
Yeah, so. It's like. It's like 30 milligrams time release, and I didn't sell it to anyone.
What if I hit someone with my car? But they're not famous. Does that count as a crime?
And you're not famous? Oh, they're not famous.
They're not famous.
You know, there actually is like a ticket in New York City, like a written ticket for hidden people.
What?
Mm-hmm. Wait, it's not always a criminal charge. It depends on who you are. Like, I swear.
Wait, there's like a checkbox on the ticket.
Swear
it's like
to God.
Speeding, hit someone.
I'm gonna tell you how I know.
Okay.
How I knew this before I was even 30. So in law school.
Wait, I just apologize for breaking character, audience.
In law school, I was driving home one night, and when I'm literally about to turn the corner when I was in the driveway. I swear to God, this guy looks at me looks at me. And just tosses himself in front of the car. Like, I swear, tosses himself in front of the car. I'm like, you good? Like, are you okay? Like, I know I didn't hit him, but he's throwing himself to the ground again. And he's like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go look for parking. All I hear is, all the time, he done called all the police, all the ambulance, this is the next thing, whatever. I'm like, I did not hit this guy, blah, 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 blah. But they gave me a nice little written ticket for hitting someone in the pedestrian sidewalk, which they dismissed. I got thrown away. But yeah, it's like a written ticket.
Happened to you. So that's proof that
I was in law
systemic
school.
racism doesn't exist.
I was in law school, respectability politics, and also I think I was like, I'd interned for the DA's office. I was like, I want to be a prosecutor. I want to be a prosecutor, y'all. Like,
Oh, they're like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like Candace Owens. Let's just give you that box.
You know what's so funny though? They were mad cops, and there was like a bunch of male cops, and so I'm like charming them, and they're all for it. Like I'm telling you, all the men, they're like, oh yeah, Black woman cop pulls up and she's like, fucking Booker, like Booker, like she's like that bitch is lying. She hit it. I'm like, Miss, and that's why you done. You black cops are still cops.
Yep. Well, I mean, also, the myth of women helping women.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh my goodness. But well, I mean, Walter got a ticket like that too. When you stabbed those 13 people back in the late 90s.
Yeah, it was. It was.
He had just gotten his trust fund then though. It was like and so it was a fine. I think.
Speaking of committing crimes, like remember the guy who ran against Eric Adams, Curtis Sliwa, and like in the 90s, he had like made up a bunch of crimes that he'd been attacked and kidnapped, all kind of foolishness. And that in the debates with Eric Adams, he's like, they're like, yeah, after faking a kidnapping and crime, he's just like, yeah, I've apologized for that. Like, I'm like,
well, he did say something.
No. Wait, so that's the one where he got into a taxi, and the cab driver shot him.
Is that what he said happened?
Whatever the details, I was.
Wait, this is the Guardian Angels?
Yes.
Okay, I want to just.
For our audience, this is the Guardian Angels.
This is the Guardian Angels guy.
And the Guardian Angels are?
The Guardian Angels are like the mini Proud Boys.
Yeah, they're the one that you may have seen on Fox News committing a hate crime.
Yes.
Oh, the one, yeah. Oh, I forgot about
the fact that was not highlighted more. Like they're on the news. My boyfriend could not believe what he was seeing. They're like, is that a migrant? It wasn't even a migrant, but I was like, the fact alone that they could be like, is that a migrant on the news? Beat him up, jump him.
They're like, pan over, and they'll get.
But this wasn't like found footage either.
Yeah.
Yes,
They were live on Fox News.
They're like, oh, you want to know what we do? Watch this. Hey, brown person.
They were just, they were like, you're a migrant, sure.
Oh my goodness.
No, so I remember as a child, we heard the story of Curtis Sliwa getting the assassination attempt on his life. As a child, it seemed fantastical to me. Like, and I was young at the time, and I was like, wait, so he got in the cab, and the cab driver was also trying to assassinate him, and it was something, I don't even have I remember being like, wait, what? And I, to this day, I've interviewed Guardian Angels, and they're like, they go to all the Back the Blue rallies. Mm-hmm. They see themselves as the people that back up the cops.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what infuriates me, because they're not there to back up the community. In my interviews with them, at no point are they saying we are here to help they say they're there to help the community.
Yeah.
But the other examples are not.
Yeah.
They're like, we are here to like grab someone and turn them over to the police.
Yes.
Right. We are working with the police for the police. It's never...
which is slightly different than when a bunch of people on a subway train like tackle someone with like a knife or a gun or something to deliver them to the police who are also there but not doing anything.
Yeah, so that's the common thread is Proud Boys and Guardian Angels have both specifically said we are there to back up the police.
And Eric Adams wrote an op-ed, penned an op-ed saying, he's proud of the Guardian Angels work he was. Supported them.
Yeah, well, and and honestly, I feel like it's sad that the police need to be backed up. Do you have your phone with you? Here, why don't you pull up? So Walter recently spoke to the city council about this, and I think that he has perhaps a more ingenious solution than the Guardian Angels.
I'll call Walter Masterson.
We need more cops. Everyone says that more police officers equals lower crime rates. The only people who disagree are people that actually research crime and all they want to talk about is, access to mental health care, access to housing, food. Forget those people. The only way to reduce crime in this city is to put a police officer on every corner, every subway car, inside every classroom. Right now we only have 30,000 police officers patrolling the streets.
Yeah, that
we need to
sounds
get those
great.
numbers up. It's simple math, right? There are currently 6,400 subway cars in our transit system. as 1,800 schools in NYC. That's 20,000 classrooms, 120,000 city blocks. We need almost about 150,000 officers on patrol at all times. Otherwise, who will be there to play Candy Crush on their phones as civilians disarm violent offenders? Last week, we had a horrible shooting on the A train at the Hoyt-Schermerhorn stop. Now think about this. The Hoyt-Schermerhorn stop already has a police station, but that didn't stop the shooting. But what if the subway car had a police officer in it? What if everyone on that subway car was a police officer? What if the shooter on the subway was also a cop? That would have been amazing. There would have been no crime report or anything. We could have just handled it internally. We could end crime today. All we need to do is make everyone in New York City join the NYPD. Then assaults, murders, sexual assaults will just be handled internally. Someone steals a car, give them paid leave. Problem solved. You might be thinking, how are we going to pay for this? Right now, the NYPD budget's $11 billion. That's only 5% of the city budget. It should be 100% of the city budget. The only way to curb a crime rate that's already almost historically low. No parks, libraries, schools, homeless services, mental health officers, transit, arts, or happiness. Why would we need those things when we have the NYPD? Thank you.
This is such an excellent use of white privilege. Like, honestly, the best use of white privilege I've ever seen, because they would not let me get that shit off.
I mean, this is essentially what we do for a living.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's actually beautiful.
yeah,
That's well performed. Also, just as a lawyer, that was nice.
Well, you said that you could see someone saying that the person who went after Walter unironically gave basically the same speech.
The two people after
Yeah.
me. This one guy was like, we need more cops, who did this, and then he started a fight with some of the activists that were there, and then this other guy who went out, a few people after him, Alex Stein, he tries to do what we do, but for the far right,
yeah.
and he unironically was like, you need more cops, and it was every time they said this, people looked at me like, are they with you? And I was like, they're not with me, bro.
One more thing that I think we have to get is we talk about the cops and prosecutors working hand in hand.
Yes.
Like putting innocent people on trial, taking away their rights. One such case, I think we can all agree on. Donald Trump. His criminal trial starts today, which is Monday. And just in your perspective, how should they be defending him?
Defending him. I have complicated, nuanced feelings on the Trump trial because
Matt Walsh and me is saying don't.
It's okay. It's a big deal. I get it because this is the first time a former president has ever stood trial, right, on criminal charges. That being said, the charges that they're getting him on are the lowest the lowest thing they could possibly. It's probably the lowest thing of all Donald Trump's misdeeds in the first place. But two, it's also pretty low de minimis charges. I don't think he's ever gonna see a day of jail or anything like that. And I think it might. I don't feel sympathy for him. This isn't me saying they're obviously prosecuting this case because of all the ways they want to get Donald Trump in general, but can't get him. Which I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Do your thing. But I just think it might backfire on us. I think so far all of the things they've done, Trump has been impeached, January 6th, all these different things, all it does is really mobilize his crazy nut ass base to be behind him. So I think that they perceive him as being gone after for what even to people who hate him, or the me's of the world think is petty.
That's a good point that you bring up because that point has been echoed on Fox News. He is becoming more popular amongst black people.
Oh no!
Because of
because he has a mugshot.
And
sneakers.
And then a sneaker and stuff.
This
is something I had seen on Fox News.
I'm sorry, racist? I'm sorry, is liking, I don't know, who else has a mugshot that's famous? Tupac?
Frank Sinatra.
Black people love Sinatra, famously.
Sinatra's famous.
Yeah, but it is unfortunate that this is the first trial because it is falsifying business records is such an abstract idea that even if they win, what do they tell the American people?
Yeah, it's it would falsifying business records to cover up his consensual sexual relationship with a little girl.
Yeah,
no one gives a fuck.
Well, I mean, an adult. But I mean, yeah, probably, but not in this case.
Yeah, like, but yeah, no, I'm like, nobody is interested in that. And because I think it doesn't tell anybody anything new about Donald Trump. Like, everything that convicting Donald Trump on this would tell us, we already know, and the people who don't give a fuck, and the people who do.
Well, and it's funny because like a lot of the people defending him are defending him too much. Yeah. Like, he had sex with Stormy Daniels. Yeah. We're not disputing that. Yeah. Like that, but people defending them they're just like, they make him sound like he's an adulterer, and like, no, he is.
First and foremost, he is.
Yeah. Like, famous for it.
Yeah, like,
the 80s.
He's all, that's what I'm saying, like, before, you don't even gotta go to trial for that.
Yeah.
I know the best defense I see is where it's like, well, Donald Trump, I mean, he's a billionaire. He could get anyone. He's not, philandering with Stormy Daniels. He could do so much better.
Shit like that.
And at the same time, he wouldn't do that because he's a family man.
He's a man of God.
Yeah,
which people say unironically all the time to us.
That's it. They just be lying to themselves. Like, honestly, it's just a certain level of denial.
We talked to a guy at a Michigan rally who said that one of the most important things he looks for in a man is humility.
And that's
to
why
humble yourself before God.
And that's why that's Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm. Like, we made the case, it's like, man, I can't wait to see his plane. Well, no, it's him because it has his name on it.
His plane flew over right at the same time.
Or a plane
to the rally.
Yeah.
And we're like, is that Donald Trump's plane? He's going to see his name on it.
Yeah, and he's like, anyways, what were we saying about
at least, humility? Like, I like, you know what I like? At least when, like, black celebrities or, like, joke like Donald Trump for, like, bullshit, shallow reasons, at least they say it. Like, at least Michael Che be like, Trump would be a funny guy. That'd be funny to go with him or whatever, some stupid thing like that. Like, at least tell me. I prefer if you have a shallow reason because you just don't care deeply about nothing. Like, you're like, okay, I think he's funny. I think this is a spectacle. That's ignorant. It's ignorant. You'd be wrong still. But that's better than when they be like, don't you just see that this is a God-fearing man sent to save us from these? I'm like, you think this?
The thing that drives me crazy is there's a lot of people like in the DNC who are trying to appeal to these people through reasons like, well, if we book them in New York, then they'll finally see. And I'm like, you have never talked to any of them,
like,
right?
And you know what I think is ridiculous, and like Democrats make so many mistakes. Yeah. But it's like if there's a whole country, it's a whole country, half of whom don't even vote at all, right? So like there are a whole bunch of people who you could probably get politically activated by just speaking to some shit you didn't speak to anymore or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bunch of people who are already on your side who feel like you're not progressive enough and you're not saying all those things. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, fuck the two of them. Fuck both those groups. Them Republicans right there that are like, fuck you all, you crazy woke bastards, and you're ruining the country, and I'll never vote for you. And they'd be like, surely we can reach them.
Well, you're right. We're sorry. Do you know what? We're going to increase policing. Don't you worry about it.
Right.
Like, because they're worried about like the Long Island, like center right person who sometimes votes Democrat,
right?
And like, don't give zero shits about that guy. You're not gonna
and they act like it's insane when you say that. Meanwhile, the right constantly says fuck them.
Yeah,
they've never heard the right been like
campaigning to like. They're not trying. The right is a welcoming place as long as you're insane.
Yes.
Like as long as and it doesn't even matter like flat Earth, anti-vax. It doesn't matter how you're insane. If you're insane, that's good enough.
Yes.
But like if you want like, hey, I just want some reasonable policies.
They'd be like
excuse you, we're shutting down the government. And did you know that Joe Biden is being piloted by Barack Obama?
It's not really him.
No, he's a robot.
That's what I'm saying. They speak in conspiracies and just nut ass shit that doesn't make sense. Like, it is crazy. And it's so quickly because propaganda can take you over quick. I was watching, me and my boyfriend were watching The People versus O.J. Simpson because we are having this debate.
His death?
No, but I was like, we were talking about the case, me and my best friend Nia, and about all the reasons that I think, all the implications of the criminal justice system. And Nia was like, and she kept like going back to the point, and he didn't do it, or we don't know, and I was like, between us, you think he didn't do it? Nia. And my boyfriend hadn't seen it. I was like, baby, let's watch People versus
Wait, he hadn't seen it? So
He
you're worried
hadn't
about
seen the People
spoilers?
versus OJs. No. He kept like,
It's like, hey, shut up. I want to see the trial.
I'm like, baby, you gotta watch this so you can see that Nia is tripping. And it's crazy because we watch him and like we start off with our good sense, like, she's tripping. Like, I mean, obviously, like,
Yeah.
he probably did that. Like, I don't care, but
Yeah.
he did that. And then the next thing you know, you hear enough and realize, and I start to be like, I don't know what he did. And I'm like, you see how it gets you? You see how it takes over you? I
Yeah.
love to like snap out like, this is no different than the rest of them. Like,
No, but again, like, I think it's really important whenever you start a conversation, you have to like lay out some ground rules now about like what is reality.
yes.
Like what is a fact that we could just like
My
start
boyfriend's cousin is a flat earther.
Oh.
And I didn't know he was, because I
We
didn't
should've
know
had
they
him
were
on the show.
real
We should-
people. And so I was at the house and he said it and I burst out laughing like, big joke, big joke. My boyfriend's over there like,
Nope.
I looked at his wife like, you put this.
Oh, he's married.
Yeah, I was like,
He's married.
You know?
Like they have like a house.
yeah.
They like so
Handsome, really nice, wonderful man.
Yeah, no,
but he believes the earth is flat.
Well, I think it's because like, you know, it's not that the government hasn't lied to the people.
Yes.
Right? About like lots of stuff. And it's easy for people that don't have like logical reasoning skills or haven't been taught how to use their critical reasoning skills to be like, well, if they're lying about this, then what else?
Right.
Right? And it's like, but then it's like, also, what the fuck is sunset? Where does the sun go?
I'm just like, what would be, what is the why would the earth be pretending to you now? They've been flying all around the earth.
Yeah,
with
No,
the
but
track
the
record.
funny thing
Well-
is that they do this all the time. Where like whenever you talk with a flat earther, it doesn't stay on the subject of
Yeah.
flat Earth. It goes very quickly into
Jews.
we want to like almost do like a timer where we like interview them and like how fast do they get to the Jews.
Yeah.
But like
it's
it's like there's two things that they hit every time. It's Building 7 during 9/11. Building the like.
That's why I
what
never
about
don't talk to
Building-
these people.
Building 7.
you know,
And then
steel doesn't melt steel beams kind of.
Because they're like, why did that building wasn't hit by, and so on. And then
Yeah.
it gets into a Jewish conspiracy. And it
It's
gets
a
there.
globalist.
Globalist.
Yeah.
Flat earthers usually
Well,
are-
actually, do you know what they think?
What?
About, like, why the flat Earth?
Why?
So it's not just that the Earth is flat; it's that we are in a prison. There's an ice wall around the perimeter, and then there's like a better Earth on the other side of the ice wall. And if we knew about it, we would all move there. And they'll say it in the same fucking breath as saying the migrants are coming into this country, and they're like, but as soon as we find what's on the other side of the ice wall, I'm there, I'm going, I don't need a passport. And it is so wild that they think that like
That is
my
so
favorite
funny.
one is the guy who took the level on the plane with him.
Yeah.
And he was like, and he filmed it. He's like, check me out. And he has like, there's the level, and he's like, watch it now.
like for a hardware store level.
Yeah, the one for like construction.
Oh my gosh.
And then he's like, and he filmed the entire time like,
Isn't the plane tilted?
yeah, and he was like, look, it stayed level the entire time. Why didn't it?
but airplanes fly like this. They're at an angle.
I mean, don't tell him that.
That makes me think of just bringing up critical race theory. Derek Bell was actually the father of critical race theory. Critical race theory has a lot to do with trying to use like storytelling in order to like explain to people how systemic racism and these different things function. But he has a story called The Space Trader, so it's a made up fictional story.
Space trader. Or
Yeah, the
trade
Space
war?
Traders.
Okay.
So in the story, what it is that aliens make contact with America, and aliens offer the American government, we will take all, if y'all vote to it, y'all agree to it or whatever, we will take all the black people away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like a sus, and like we'll take them to wherever space. And then there's a vote. There's basically like a vote, since you get in the thing that the white Americans are all having the disagreement about is not that they have a problem with taking the aliens.
Oh wait,
They're
sorry,
like-
white people
they're
get
like,
to vote on this?
Yes, it's
Oh.
white people get to vote. It's like, will white America vote
Uh-huh.
to send the black people away to space if they could get rid of
Yeah.
them? And the white people can't decide if it's because space is good or bad. They're
Right.
like, what's there? Like, is it better? Because I don't want to send them if it's nice. Like, and so that's the whole dilemma of the Space Traders.
I love that.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. They made it
It's
into like
also-
you could probably find it on YouTube. I'll text it to you. was like an actual video they got made in a movie.
I think that's great. Well, I mean, because there's also there's the sparks of the during the civil rights era, there's a movement of just move everyone back to Africa, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone back to Africa, and people are like, but I have like a house.
Right.
I mean, what's his name? Was it Marcus Garvey, and he started the Pan-African movement?
Yeah.
I will go on record. I will pay money if I get like a time machine, or if there's like footage of this, of him going to white supremacists, because the black community was mad at him for this.
Yeah.
He went to white supremacists, met with them, and said, "You want us to go back to Africa? We want to go back to Africa. This is the Pan-African movement. Like, give us some ships, give us a plane."
Yeah.
And like their heads, just to watch the look on their face of like, well, yeah, I mean, like,
Actually,
and have
because
them be like, okay, shit, like we weren't prepared for this this topic.
Because that's not what they want. They want a lower class. That's what it is. They don't really want you to be. If that was the case, they'd leave you in Africa. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but just to call their bluff to their
Yeah.
face and have them be like, all right, shit, I got nothing. Like,
but there are really there are lots of different sects of black people who feel different things. But there are black people who feel like integration was the worst thing that ever happened to us, because afterwards they wanted to destroy black communities that were doing really well, and they believe that we should be separate. It'll never truly be equal being in their societies. And there are black people who believe that we should just go back to Africa, establish our own, which is kind of in line with the same thinking of black people who feel like we should just establish our own communities and our own stuff and basically stop trying to deal with and haggle with white people.
Well, it's funny because there is this weird movement among alt-right, very strong white nationalists.
Yeah.
That one of the things that they say against wokeness is by having identity policies, we are segregating ourselves into smaller and smaller groups, right? And so by doing that, we are erasing the idea of an American. They're anti-melting pot. Is wokeness, because if I have a gay, if I have a black trans woman organization, but they'll say that but they also don't want anyone in that group to exist.
Exactly, and that's just nonsense. It just all it is they're really just opposing rights. Because first of all, I think it's funny that white people try and act like identity politics is just us, right? It's everybody else that has identity politics and not them that are actively clinging to shit, call it the culture wars and blah 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 blah. It's because they see whiteness as a default. Everybody else is an other in a group. So when we do something, it's being aligned with our own interests or communal interests as identity politics. But for them, it's that's just default.
Which I can't say this enough. Whiteness isn't a culture. I don't mean mayonnaise is delicious. No, I mean literally, that was made up by white supremacists.
Yes.
Right. There's no traditions that are white traditions, because there's Irish traditions. There's English. There's wherever they're white. There's no white holidays.
And literally no one gets angry at you when you celebrate your culture and your heritage. Black people come out and wear green sweaters on St. Patty's Day. No one cares.
Right.
But when there's no white people day, because that's that's weird.
Well, because there's no because white people was created by white supremacists to sell white supremacy.
And it's a real identity to recognize, even the court, because there are different groups of white people that weren't always traditionally considered white, and then the U.S. government decided they would consider them white.
Irish.
Well, they're love playing victims.
The Italians. Those are two just groups. They're both dirty people.
My theory is that the
Scottish
KKK didn't accept Catholics, right?
Yeah.
They didn't accept all these people, and then they didn't have the numbers, and they're you know what? All right, a couple of Catholics come in, and I feel every time white supremacy shrinks, they get more inclusive. Yeah. And you start to see Proud Boys, you have a lot of Latino representation in the Proud Boys, right? And I think it's because they don't have enough white people to make it work.
Oh, it's also their transphobia is amazing.
Oh yeah,
recruitment. They're they get people being all right, you know what? You're black, but we all hate trans people.
It's because people are taught in sections, right? They know how something hurts them, but they don't understand how it hurts each other, right? So this is something I feel I have this conversation with black people a lot, especially in relation to when black people unwittingly parrot back anti-Semitic talking points and don't realize it. It's because people people are not taught white supremacy and like what white supremacy is. Like they don't actually know like what white supremacists believe. But like in school, when they give you the bullet point of who white supremacists hate, it's like it's not just black people. It's like black people, Jews, Catholics, gays, everybody. So they don't realize that. So for black, especially for a lot of black people, what happens I think with anti-Semitism is they see Jews as white people. It's like they don't realize how there any kind of distinguishment between groups amongst white people, and so they're not aware. Like in their mind, when you try to tell them about it, they're like, those are white people. So they don't see how, hey, you know that anti-Semitism is like the next talking point next to us. Like when you start that with Jews, all of us, and they don't see it. So that's I think a lot of what happens is they lure different people that are also victims of white supremacy, like get the Latinos, get the black people by saying transphobic, homophobic shit, you know, and get these different groups.
Well,
and
it's also because of like the dog whistles have gotten so abstract. Like we go to a MAGA rally, like there's Jews for Trumps that are complaining about the globalists. I'm like, that's you. Like black people at these rallies that are just like, well, we got to do something about urban crime. That like you're that's you. Like there's gays for Trumps that like they legitimately don't realize that the things that they are saying are conspiracy theories against themselves.
And a lot of people think like they can protect themselves by being a token, right? Like again, Derek Bell.
Right, by siding up with the power center.
Exactly. Like if I'm the messenger, if I were to decide to be a messenger for the right, they'd love me and embrace me, and you know what I mean? And then the mindset that
they need you for the culture wars.
They love you.
The proof that we're not racist.
Exactly.
I would bet real money that if you went to Ben Shapiro today, like especially because they just got rid of Candace Owens, I bet if you went there today, he would give you $1 million.
I'm sure. I'm confident I'd be a rich bitch living good if I was willing to be on the right, not the right side, on the right.
There's no money on this side.
There's not, but like we have a fake podcast. Like we have this podcast, we're not journalists, available everywhere. But we have a fake podcast that's a conservative one. And every time we're at a rally, we're like, we have people giving us business cards like, hey, if you need money, these guys will hook you up. Like, no progressive is going to give us money for this shit.
And that's why they project that onto us. They're like, oh, you're being funded by this. And
by Soros.
And I was like, dude, I wish.
They always say that.
I was like, I wish I was getting half the money.
People call you a sellout when you're not making no money. I'm like, sell? When did I sell anything?
I wish I was getting half the money. You were claiming that I get. I wish that Democrats were half as effective as Republicans make them out to be. Even half.
Yes.
10%.
Like we could power.
Because Republicans sink money into like their avatars. Like the minute they see some, they don't have no problem propelling this talking points. Not our side. And they'll know you. They'll know you. See your content and the things you do. Like you have to. Everything on our side has to be in some level of an independent operation. Even when there's like a backing of some kind you manage to get, it has to be like your independent desire to do something. Whereas the right will try and like, let me create you. Let me come bring you over here. Let me lure you with a check. Like.
Well, I think it's because progressives sort of believe in their heart that everyone is progressive, that they will like agree with these things, and so there's just no real need to support progressive voices. It's like that's how everyone feels. Whereas conservatives know that their talking points create the machine, and the machine gives them power.
Exactly.
Right. Also, because all the big money interests, like the environmental lobby is not gonna outspend big oil. They're not
gonna. And then Jordan Peterson's like podcast is just being given,
God, what a freak.
Buoyed by oil and gas. The last thing about we're talking about anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And our theory is that with regards to anti-Semitism is we don't teach people about capitalism. Yeah. So you have people thinking, well, wealth would be distributed just fine if it wasn't for these Jews.
Well, this is true.
Yeah. They understand that something is broken, right? Yeah. But if it's if you're looking at everything and you're just like, and you can't blame capitalism and you can't blame systemic racism.
You blame each other.
Yeah. Or not each other, but this specific group,
migrants,
and
that's what
there's just not that many Jews. Period. It's 0.2% of the population out there. It's like the same thing with the trans community. You need a scapegoat that no one's met.
And you know what's funny too? It's like whenever anybody tries to talk about like systemic racism or systemic problems or these institutional issues, and they feel like that will fall to the fault of like white people or a white power structure, is don't blame. You can't just blame. Don't blame white people. But their answer is blame the migrants, blame the black people, blame the Jews. And that's always there, but they can't be.
Right.
Yeah.
But it can't be
housing crisis. scientists.
Yes.
Like global warming can't be the oil industry. What incentive would they have in burying like information about global warming?
Right.
It has to be the EPA funding scientists at universities. So the last thing we want to do, I don't know where my phone is. Did you get your phone back? We do this every episode.
Okay.
So,
We believe in systemic change, but we live in a representative democracy.
Yeah.
And so in order to, we have to be willing to speak truth to power.
Yeah.
yeah, and it sometimes means speaking to people and having conversations with people that, you don't agree with, but you have to sort of reach out to the other side sometimes.
Oh, this is DC.
Office of Senator Cruz, can I help you?
Yes, this is Lucifer, Prince of Darkness. Ted hasn't been returning my calls lately, and, elections are coming up. So can you tell him to call me back, otherwise deal's off.
That's not something I can do at this time, but if you have a message for him, I'd be happy to share it.
I think in general he's been doing good work, but otherwise he should...
Go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say?
Y'all are ruining my life. Yeah, thank God. Y'all are crazy people. This is like, y'all are absolutely nutty people. When I call them, I'm like, these motherfuckers are not like. I've never in all the things anybody's asked me to do. This is the first time I did even like, what?
I'm just saying that, I feel like it's your responsibility as a voter. Elections are every 4 years.
We broke her. She listened to hours and hours of Erica nonsense, didn't flinch.
Yeah. And then we are good citizens for 2 seconds.
2 minutes of us.
Yeah. I will say that this is the 23rd time we've called him. Only the second time they've picked up.
Well, I got it picked up while I was here because y'all are nuts. I have to tell my friends.
All right. Well, you can call him back in your free time. And remember, this is a public number. Anyone can do it. Anyways, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah. And for all of you, thanks for sticking around. Once again, I'm Maximilian Clark.
I'm Walter Masterson.
And this is We Are Not Journalists. I thought you were going to say it at the same time.
No, it's also...
no, it's too late. No,
okay.
We ruined the moment.
Okay.
Get him next week.
Oh, y'all are so good.
All right.